Could Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel extend their shelf life with the Miami Dolphins job-wise by drafting a quarterback in the 2025 NFL Draft? We will talk about it. It's something I've talked about before, but considering today's episode, it makes a ton of sense to talk about again. Also, are the Miami Dolphins looking to grab a quarterback between rounds 2 and 4? I'll also drop my top 15 quarterback big board, all 22 evaluations, all that good stuff for you today. And we will talk about Ramsey. A couple teams I reported seem to make the most interest according to a CBS report. So we will talk about all of it. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this one.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score! The field on the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Risner. We're back for another one. Happy Easter to all. I hope your egg hunts brought you plenty of treats. And I hope all of your kiddies and kiddos had a fantastic weekend. And hey, I hope you did too. So, let's get into this. You know, I let that episode with Kyle Krabs we did on Friday breathe a little bit. I thought it was a really good episode. So, push this show back to today, and we're going to be live straight through. I don't know when my next day off's coming, baby, because we're going to be live tomorrow, Tuesday, around, it's looking between 8 and 9 p.m. Me and Neil will do our annual, I think it's like the 5th annual mock draft. Okay, Wednesday, starting lineup will be live on this channel. So that means me and Dougley will be live the night before the draft on this channel. We are going to discuss plenty of draft stuff. We'll probably do a mock draft on that too, maybe one or two. So look for that Wednesday. Thursday, nights 1 and night 2. Now, every year I usually do a draft panel. And I'm thinking this might be the year. We'll see. I might go solo dolo for both nights. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But that's what I'm thinking so far. To be honest with you, I haven't even asked anyone because I've been thinking let's rock this solo and see how it goes this year. Because yeah, maybe I'll do a panel for night 2. I don't know. But I've done that every single year. Wanted to maybe switch it up a little bit. So we'll see about it. So, yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. But we'll be live for every day of the draft. Day 3, I'll be live after day 3 concludes because I'm not sitting up here for 8 hours. You don't want to watch me for 8 hours. I don't want you to watch me for 8 hours. So I used to do that for the first couple of years too when we were grinding out, trying to get the numbers up, right? So I'll be, what I've done the last couple of years, I'll be live after day 3, and I will give you my recap of day 3. And then obviously we'll be live the next day, and we will go further in depth in all the picks. And I'm thinking about adding a video to the end of night 1 and night 2 after we do our live stream and everything. I might do like a day 1 recap. Day 2, I might do a day 2 recap. They might come out late, but I'll still probably do them, all right? So those might just be straight uploads too, all right? So that is an update of where we are at because we got a lot coming your way. This is what we've been prepping for. Man, I've been doing, think about it. I've been doing big boards for like 6 weeks now. So now, Patreon's channel members, the rest of the big boards you will get, all right? Linebacker big board, you will get that. Edge big board, Patreon channel members, you will get that. All right. Tight end, you will get that. Tackle, center, running back. I think that's it. I think there's only 6 big boards that ended up not getting made into video format. So those big boards will be available to patrons and channel members either tonight or tomorrow. I'll have those up for you guys so you can see how I rank out the rest of the draft. All right. So there you go. A lot of stuff coming your way. A lot of content coming your way. Best draft coverage on YouTube. It's not even close in this community. I mean, we've had Devin Jackson. You know what I mean? We've had the great Jordan Reed. I mean, they were talking about Mel Kiper's successor. When Mel Kiper retires, Jordan Reed is stepping into those shoes, people. And we're going to be doing this annually from what we started this year to how we move forward. Man, it's been really good. Damian Parson from Locked On NFL Draft, the homie Kyle Krabs. I don't think you're going to get 2 better draft minds in the community coming together and talking draft than what me and Kyle Krabs brought to y'all on Friday. So, man, you know this is where I thrive, man, and I just want to keep y'all the most informed as possible. So, because, I mean, hey, everyone talks about 13 and 48. What have I asked everyone that I've had up here who knows the draft? Give me a deep sleeper for the Miami Dolphin fans to watch. And I know some of y'all in the chat were losing your mind when Dante Thornton got brought up. I know some of y'all were like, yeah, here we go. I told y'all a reason. So I love it. I love it, love it, love it, man. So there you go. So you see, even y'all, some of y'all viewers get, you know, vindication by listening to these draft shows. All right. So smash that like button as you're coming through. About 150 of you in the room. WrestleMania night 1 was popping, especially that ending. The show was mediocre other than like 3 matches, really. Let's be real here. Night 2 tonight. Let's go, baby. Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman with Rock and Cena as a stable. Let's go. Is that what's going to happen tonight? Is that what we're doing tonight? Are we creating a new stable and are we screwing? Let's go, baby. I'm down for it. And I got to, you know, man, it's going to be a good night tonight. Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right. So, a couple things. I saw someone in the chat. Who is it? Okay, first of all, I like how Miami doesn't like Dalton Risner. Like, no, we're happy with our guys. I think that's a Butch Berry thing, brother. I think that goes back to, remember, a lot of people were throwing Butch Berry under the bus coming out of Denver. Now, I can confirm a lot of the stuff that they were throwing him under the bus with, okay? You know, I'm very good friends. You know, again, I was the first person in this community. I see people are trying to, like, you know, follow those steps lately. But I was the first person in this community that had Benjamin Albright up on the channel. Me and Ben are still really good, but like, he's a really good guy. Me and him are really cool. I love that guy. And we still talk frequently. And like, we were talking about the Ramsey stuff behind the scenes and stuff too. And, you know, he was one of the people telling me like, yeah, yo, Ramsey's been on the block for months. You know what I mean? So, anyways, he confirmed a lot of the stuff that leaked out about Butch Berry. Like, there was some like very, very disturbing stuff. Like, this guy stepping like toe to toe and not being a very good people person, bro. Like, I'm talking like, let me, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, like, this guy's leaving notes in like players' lockers and stuff. If I remember correctly, I was like, what is this right now? So it wasn't that good, but I think McDaniel and such like reined him in. You know what I mean? I'm trying to remember what it was. I think I have it written down somewhere, but I know it was something crazy. Like, he was leaving notes in someone's locker room. I have to go back and like look, but it was something like that. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, check this out. He used to leave Post-it notes in people's lockers. Like, are you crazy? And that's just one of the things. This guy's leaving like, hey, I don't know if you guys remember the old movie from the 90s, Major League, right? The fight with Charlie Sheen and Roger Dorn when it was over. You know, he left the fake pink slip in his locker to make him think that he's getting cut and stuff like that. Like, this guy, like, yo, man, yeah, let me tell you something. I didn't hear great things, all right? And that wasn't coming from the players. You know what I mean? So I don't think Dalton Risner is coming here anytime soon. I say all that to say that. I don't think he's coming anywhere soon. Now, our number 13 pick in Ramsey for number 9 pick and a 5th to get Membou. You're going to have to get ahead of at least the Jets to get Membou. Okay, I think Will Campbell's going to go 4, right? Because I think Vrabel views Will Campbell as left tackle as he should. I think, we say what Travis Hunter, right? You could be all pro wide receiver. You could be all pro corner if you focus and hone in on that position for 2 years. Same thing with Campbell. I think he's going to be an all pro tackle. And I think he could be an all pro guard if he wanted to kick inside. I think either or. The guy's just so up here. He's got it up here. You know what I mean? So I think you got to move up. And there's even rumblings now. I still would have Gene T locked in at 6. But there's even rumblings that they like Gene T a little bit. What if the Jacksonville Jaguars, that the Raiders like Membou a little bit? What if the Jaguars like Membou a little bit? Everyone's Mason Graham. Now, I think it's going to be Mason Graham. Mason Graham's out here working out in Jacksonville Jags gear, so it makes a lot of sense. Geez. But you never know. I don't know. Especially if Shedeur, well, I don't think Shedeur is going to. I do think it's going to go, which is crazy. I think it's going to go Cam Ward. Then I think it's going to go Travis Hunter. Then I think it's going to go Abdul Carter. Then I think it's going to go Will Campbell. And then it's probably going to go Mason Graham. And then I think it's going to go Ashton Gene T. And then I think it's going to go Armand Membou. They're going to take Membou over Tyler Warren. Now, obviously, the Patriots are the other one you got to watch for Membou. And see, this is what I hate, man. I see people talking in certainty. Oh, he's a right side player only. Oh, are we going to do this again? Are we going to do this? I made all of y'all who doubted me look foolish over Penei Sewell. We going to do this again? Are we going to? I told all y'all. He played left tackle. I said, what was he recruited as? Well, I don't know reason. I said, he's recruited as a left guard, bro. I said, what did he play in high school? Well, I don't know reason. I said, play left tackle and right tackle. And remember, I dropped right tackle film on people from Huddle, man. I got some high school footage because I got access to Huddle. So I got high school footage of Penei Sewell when I was dropping that right tackle paw in their dome. I'm going to tell you the same thing with Armand Membou. Y'all doubted me with Penei Sewell. Don't doubt me now. Okay, the track record's over here when it comes to the draft, and not just with the Dolphins, okay? Armand Membou can play the left side. He's got the athleticism, and he's got it up here. That's all you need. Now, is he still a little raw from a technique standpoint? Yeah, a little bit. Got to be coached, but that's coachable, And if you're still a little raw, even more reason to throw you to the other side if you got the athleticism and the IQ. Why spend time refining you when I might as well just get you to the other side, right? Get you to start leading with the other side of your body and get used to that. There's even more reason. But anyways, that's the thing. These people get worried about, listen, there's certain things you can look for in players, whether it be kicking inside from tackle to guard, or whether it be moving from one tackle spot to the other tackle spot. There's certain things you can see. You can watch people film, and you can see this. I'm going to tell you this. I laid it out for someone on X a couple weeks ago. And I said to the guy, I said, listen, and I ended it, and I said, listen, if you have watched, if you don't think Armand Membou can play left tackle, you haven't watched his film. Or you haven't watched enough of it. Because you can see it. You can see the athleticism. You see the IQ. You can see everything you need in the package to shift to the other side. All right? You can see it all right there. And you know who liked it? It was, I'm not even lying to you, some Patriots reporter who breaks down all 22. I think his name is Trevor. He has 30,000. I think his name is Trevor Kyle. I don't know. He does I don't know. He does, what's it called? I think it's Lyles. I don't know. It's Kyle's or Lyles or I don't know. Trevor something. All I know is that. And he came through and he liked it. And he does Patriot all 22 breakdowns, but I forget who he does them for. He does them for someone that's like notable, not some like jabroni little setup. Anyways, he came through and he liked it. And then I go and I look into his, so I'm like, oh, why is he liking my stuff? I go and I look at it. He's saying the same thing. I'm like, okay, like look at this guy. He sees the same thing that I see. Wow, what a coincidence. What a quinky-dink. You know what I mean? So, anyways, moral of the story is you just got to know what you're looking for when guys got to make that switch. You know what I mean? Like, if some guy is not overly athletic and you watch his tape and, you know, because if you're not overly athletic, you got to have it up here, right? You know, you can't miss with your angles, can't miss with your hand placement. Like, you can't be going wide. Your base has got to be on point. Your footwork, if you don't have fast, quick feet, your footwork at least has to be like on point and sharp for you to have a chance. Like this is what we always talk about Liam Eichenberg, right? Didn't have the fast feet, didn't have the athleticism, didn't have the anchor, didn't have the pop and power you want in your hands. You didn't see any of these things. So what did I always say about him? Okay, well, if you don't have that, you need to be fundamentally and technically sound. Like, your technique needs to be, like, damn near flawless for you to even have a chance, bro. Not for you to, like, be great, for you to have a chance if you don't have any of those things. And as we've seen, it looks more like the times where, and I've always talked about Liam Eichenberg, and you go back, look at the prospect profile of Liam Eichenberg back in the day. Now, I think it got demonetized and like copyright strikes, so I had to edit parts out. But I don't know if the parts are still in it, but if you go look at it, I'm sure it's still in it. I've said this since that day. You know how many times I used to watch that Notre Dame film and I'd laugh because I'd be like, yo, this guy's lunging? And it would be crazy. He would lunge and he'd miss. But it was not even like, okay, like in the heat of the moment, he lunges and he misses, and the guy just like, you know, either like sheds him, or like, you know, it's like people like watching him lunge and like sidestepping him, and like then just like going around him and having like a, you know, full pat to the quarterback. It was bad. Like I caught myself laughing a few times watching all 22. Now I know I said with Kyle, there's only been a few times where you'll hear me talk out loud. You know, Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon, was one of those guys, you know, probably the only guy through this draft class where I was like, are you like this guy? Like, you know, you'd see the penetration and he'd overextend. He'd whiff on like an easy tackle or an easy assignment, like a backfield stop for 4 or 5 yards. He'd be through in like a split second, but he'd just like put on the brakes, bro. You just overextend past the quarterback and you'd be like, or the running back, and you'd be like, yo, man. Like, I saw it at least, like, I'm not even lying to you, I saw it like at least 8 or 10 times. Like, at least just in this last 2 years. I was like, wow, bud. Like, it was painful. It was painful to watch. Because you're like, dude, if you just put on the brakes, you know what your sack production would have been? People would be talking about you as the number one guy in this class, potentially. Because your sack production would have been through the roof, and your tackling for a loss production would have been through a roof. But, you know, so, anyways, that's my story about scouting this year. Another, where I was going with that Membou stuff, too, is another team you might have to look out for now. If a Membou or a Campbell slide does happen, Ryan Ramczyk retired in New Orleans just this past week. You know, like, that's what you got to look at. You got to look at. Tier below. Campbell, I think Campbell can be an all-pro. I think Membou can be an all-pro too. I just think Sewell and Wirfs aren't just like the best right tackles in the business. They're arguably some of the best tackles in the business. And I think I could see, you know, Membou being like a top 10 right tackle, top 8 right tackle. I could see Campbell being, you know, a top 8, top 5 left tackle. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. I can't. I got to see them at the NFL level. Sewell took that step, and he was the guy I thought he was going to be right out the gate. Listen, no one defended Waddle more in this community than me. I'm a Waddle guy, but for pre-draft. But no one in the draft community defended Sewell, and especially the move to right guard the way I did and had the hard evidence to back it up. And I've said this before, hindsight, we should have taken Sewell. Can you believe these guys decided to restructure? I said, are they going to restructure Tua? Probably, but I wouldn't restructure him or Austin Jackson. I'd try to move off Austin Jackson next year if he gets hurt again, just like how we're already draft a quarterback if Tua gets hurt again. Don't mess around if you don't have one from this draft, right? But we'll get into that. We're all with that, right? Same thing should be. Jackson's healthy less than freaking Tua is. What are we talking about right now? Now we're going to pay this guy $16 million next year? Holy. Penei Sewell. But here's another thing. Let's be real. This is a legitimate question. Would Grier have paid Penei Sewell? Is it better to have not gone through the heartache of watching him leave? Buddy, do you know where we'd be at right now if he let Sewell walk out the door? Do you know where we'd be at? You think it's bad now? Yeah, Robert Hunt was bad. Right? That's disastrous, bro. He's better than Sewell. Would have challenged Richmond Webb for the best tackle in NFL history in Dolphins history if he would have stayed a whole career here. Yes, he would have been better than Teron Armstead because of durability alone. All right? And that's a real question. You know how mad I would be? Now, did they pay Waddle? You're going to say, well, they paid Waddle. Sure, but they're proven to pay their weapons. Defensive weapons and offensive weapons. Hill got paid. Tua got paid. Waddle got paid. Right? Chubb got paid. Ramsey got paid. Xavier Howard got paid while he was here. Ball hawking. Defensive weapon. Byron Jones got paid to come here. See where I'm going with this? You know what I mean? Ndamukong Suh was paid to come here. They'll pay those guys. Man, I would probably be the most pessimistic Dolphin fan walking the face of the earth if they would have drafted my boy Penei Sewell. I would have watched that man leave in free agency. Do you know how mad I would be right now? Buddy, I'd be like putting together, I'd be organizing, mobs with pitchforks and torches for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Y'all think I would be hurt over Tua leaving? Nah. You know how hurt I would have been over Penei Sewell? Oh my God. That's a foundational piece no matter what happens at quarterback. And imagine how dominant that right side would have been. Woo-wee! Look, I want you to think about this. If they would have played and I've talked about this. If they would have played their cards right, think about this for a second. Think about this. Let's say 2021, they say, you know what? We're doing this. Okay? Now, 2020, I've talked about this. The reason why the San Francisco 49ers traded back one spot with the Bucs was because we were trying to move up for worse. Now, they wanted an extra third or fourth. I forget which one because it's been a while. But they wanted an extra third or fourth. I think it was a fourth. They wanted an extra third or fourth in there. I'm pretty sure it was a fourth if I remember correctly. And we balked. And we said, no, not happening. And so they traded. And the reason why they wanted extra premium to move back because they were afraid of missing out on Javon Kinlaw. So then the Bucs were like, yo, no, move up. So let's say you draft that we make that trade. Okay, let's say you give him a fourth. You say, okay, here you go. Let's say you get Wirfs. Okay, you complete that trade. Then you turn around and you draft Robert Hunt. Let's say you still go that. You say, okay, cool. We got 2 pieces. All right? Because then they would have drafted Solomon Kinley and stuff later. And that's still how it went. We're just taking away, Austin Jackson. Anyways. So then you turn around in 2021. You say, okay, we're going to finish off our offensive line. You could have turned around. Think about this. You could have turned around and you could have got Penei Sewell, kept him at left tackle. Wouldn't have had to kick him to right, keep him at left coming out of Oregon, right? Then you don't trade up for Eichenberg because we don't need the tackle. You sit there. Creed Humphrey falls in your lap. There's your center, right? Now you keep going, and this is where a real mistake happened. Brian sitting in the war room with you. I want Hunter Long. I want my Boston College alum. You say, Brian, you need to settle down. We ain't going there. And you take Quinn Miners. Do you realize what that offensive line is right now? Penei Sewell, Quinn Miners on your left side, center, Creed Humphrey, right guard, Robert Hunt, right tackle, Penei Sewell. Do you realize what that is? Do you realize the chance? And these are all guys that I was like, yo, they got to draft him. Yo, they need him. These are all guys that I pointed out pre-draft through the whole process that this is how you fix the offensive line by adding these cats. Do you realize what I would have built in Miami? Go back, the receipts are there. You wouldn't have needed Teron Armstead. You wouldn't have needed to throw that money there. There would have been no need for paying a Connor Williams or an Aaron Brewer. No money there in the early years. Man, now sure, would one of those guys probably have walked? Yeah, I would have let one of the guards walk. Because you probably wouldn't have been able to pay to afford all of them when it's all said and done. So yeah, I would have let one of the guards walk. But I would have locked in everyone else. Penei and Wirfs, top priority. Then I would have taken Creed Humphrey, priority 3, and then one of the guards is priority 4. Or I'm drafting guards, remember, I wanted to draft Zach Frazier. I wanted to draft Mason McCormick last year. There's been guards every year I've wanted to draft. So I'd be supplementing. I'm not one of these guys that like in Miami that wait till the 11th hour and say, oh yeah, we need this. Exactly why you should be head of scouting and draft. Hey, bro. Listen, you put me in that front office, I would fix this team. You put me and EM in that front office, we bringing you a championship. You put me and Kyle in that front office, we bringing you a championship. All right? I'm going to be honest with you. Brutal. The fact that we say that, man, we shouldn't be, we shouldn't be saying that about someone on YouTube, whether it's me or not, or one of my buddies or not. We shouldn't be saying this. We should have full faith. But now we're at a point where maybe these guys do know more than oh my God. Oh man, let's get into this though. We're going down a rabbit hole. And the one thing I did want to add to, I don't know if you saw it, how far we've come to. Another guy who I hit on out of the game was talking months about how far we've come with Devon Achane. Number 1 in PPR format in terms of rankings. Come on. How far we've come with Devon Achane. I'm just saying, man, the guy I was dreaming about and a guy I used to gaslight, Richmond about and stuff like that just to tease him because I loved him so much. How far we've come, man. We've got one of the best weapons in football. 2 of the best weapons in football if you count Tyreek when he's, stable-minded and on the field. Yeah, him and Achane are just, man. And then what? Lord help me if they would have fixed this offensive line. Because guess what? Even when Tua went down last year, they would have had this. If I would have had that offensive line, and let's say Tua does go down because the last couple, the concussions haven't been on the offensive line. It's been on this guy doing way too much. All right, man, you know how much help we would have given these backup quarterbacks because we would have still had a run game. Get out of here. It's just so frustrating, man. Just so frustrating. And then not to see him take it seriously enough. It's just jabroni stuff, man. I just don't get it. I never will. You know, one of the oldest adages in football, games are won and lost in the trenches. And we're like, dum-da-dum-da-dum. It just makes no sense. All right, let's get into this. So, if you are a Patreon or channel member, you've seen my few updates on Ramsey. You know that there were two teams that, well, I mentioned multiple teams I've heard specifically, and then I said there's other teams I've heard that are interested as well. Anyways, two of the teams that I named on that list, and it's interesting because, you know, it's funny. I've heard the Raiders are interested in Ramsey, which makes sense because I heard they're low-key intrigued by Barron and Will Johnson as well. So like that it makes sense. It lines up. But anyways, so this is what was said in a recent article by CBS insider Jonathan Jones. We're going to go over two spots of it, all right? One relevant to today's big board, and this one relevant to, of course, Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill as well. So says right here, all right, speaking of the Dolphins, let's take a closer look. So, last year, Miami made Jalen Ramsey the highest paid quarterback in NFL history in terms of average annual value. This week, GM Chris Grier is talking to teams about trading Ramsey because it's in the best interest of the team. Last year, Miami inked Tyreek Hill to a new contract that gave him the most guaranteed money by any receiver in NFL history. This week, Grier is fending off more questions about potentially trading Hill. Last year, Miami signed Tua Tagovailoa to the largest contract in franchise history. This week, Grier did not mention Tagovailoa as a team leader when rattling off a few names. Last thing first, sources I talked to weren't that bothered by Grier's omission. One source said Grier isn't wired for passive-aggressive stances and dismissed any potential controversy around it. So there you go. No controversy surrounding the whole Tua thing. Number two, it's hard to imagine teams are going to give the Dolphins any reasonable compensation for Hill for Miami to move him. The 31-year-old just had his worst season since becoming a full-time starter and quit on his still-in-the-playoff hunt team in the regular season finale. Police were called to his home for a domestic dispute last week. That saw no charges being filed and that case quickly closing. And now Ramsey has played his final game for Miami. One league source said they were aware of interest in moving Ramsey as early as the NFL scouting combine in February. And what did I report? I heard that he had not been happy for months. So that lines up exactly with what I heard. You know? That lines up exactly with what I heard. That this has been going on for months. So there you go. Check another one in the box for reason on his reporting. All right. And then never mind, Ben Albright himself told me that he had heard being on the block for quite some time. Check another one in the box for me. All right. So let's go. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Another source believes the Dolphins going public is an effort to gin up a market for Ramsey that just isn't there right now. Teams like the Falcons and the Raiders should have some level of interest if the price is right. And those are two of, I think I gave like 6 or 7 teams. I gave 6 or 7 teams, and then I've heard there's a couple more involved that I don't have the name of. But Falcons and Raiders, those were two of the teams that I named that I had heard were interested. The three-time first-team All-Pro cornerback is entering his 31-age season and due $21.1 million in guaranteed money for 2025. Dolphins prepared to take on the $29.2 million cap hit to trade Ramsey next week or before June 1st, but sources say teams are balking at being on the hook for all of Ramsey's 2025 salary. There you go. Dug ourselves into a hole, and everyone wants to... Wow. It seems Miami wants to get a deal done during the draft weekend. The Dolphins will need to pay some of Ramsey's salary as well to facilitate the trade. Now, I hadn't heard that. That is news to me. I hadn't heard that. I haven't reported that. I hadn't heard that. It seems if Miami wants to get a deal done during the draft weekend, the Dolphins will need to pay some of Ramsey's salary as well to facilitate the trade. Oh, boy. Otherwise, Miami can wait until June 1st when it can split the cap charge over the next 2 seasons and then deal Ramsey if a team is willing to pay his full salary, of course. I mean, you know, Atlanta, I've talked about them a few times. Raheem Morris loves them. This is why I've talked about it and brought it up and brought up his relationship with Raheem Morris because of what I've heard privately. He loves them in terms of the Falcons being interested, and now with that report. The Raiders make sense because I've heard, not only did I report the Raiders, last week, but from what I understand, they're really intrigued by taking one of the corners potentially. And this article came out on Friday or Saturday, by the way, just for people wondering. This Friday or Saturday, like a day or two ago. They're really interested in, apparently, you know what I mean? They are very interested in taking one of the corners potentially if they don't go Achane Ginty. Because from what I understand with the Raiders, like, it's basically split. Like, half the room wants Ginty, the other half of the room wants one of the corners. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes over there with the Raiders. Because if they do take one of those corners, it's going to switch things up a little bit. Because now Mason Graham falls. Right? So, like, Mason, what do you do now? Do the Jets go Membou or do they go Mason Graham? And then now, okay, let's say they go Membou, stick to the plan. Okay, well, now it goes to the Carolina Panthers. I think they're a sleeper to take Tet, but let's say they go defense, which a lot of people have them mocking to. Jalen Walker. Do they go Jalen Walker or do they take Membou now? So, I don't know. Oh, sorry, or Mason Graham. Sorry, I apologize. So, it gets interesting there. So, anyways, for me, with Ramsey, I mean, I would not pay half of his salary unless I'm getting a third rounder. If you're giving me a second or third rounder, okay, I'll pay some of his salary. And it's from this draft, okay, let's talk. I'll especially if it's a second rounder. Yeah, I'll pay some of his salary. Sure, let's go. Why not? And I'll take the cap hit. I could get an impact player potentially, given that this draft. So, yeah, okay. Third, I'm not as thrilled, but I might be able to if it's a high third. Okay, then maybe we could talk about it. I'll pay maybe. Now, you start telling me 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, that's what you're giving me? Well, brother, you okay? I'm not paying some of his salary for a 4th, 5th, or 6th, or 7th. 5th, 6th, or 7th, I'll laugh you off the phone. 4th, it's not happening. Even if it's a back end of the 3rd pick, I'm still kind of like, Give me a top 100 pick, and let's talk about me taking on some of his salary. That's what I would do. I don't know what they're thinking, but that's what I do. Top 100 pick, let's discuss it. Top 75 pick, I'll have the Uber arriving to Miami Gardens any minute now to pick his ass up and drive him to the airport for you, okay? Top 50 pick, which is the, you're wishing on a star with a top 50 pick for Ramsey. Let me tell you that. But if that happens, never mind calling the Uber. I'll fly the private jet to make sure he arrives safely, okay? That's that. So, but there ain't no way you're going to top 50 pick. I think top 100 pick, yeah, I would take on some salary. That's where I'd be at. Tyreek Hill, not even worth having the conversation. All right, now let's get into it. This leads into our big board for today. Quarterback big board we're getting into. But before we do, check this nugget I found out from the same article that not a lot of people are talking about. QB shopping. Of course, the Giants, Browns, and Steelers could all take a quarterback within the first 34 picks, but who else could be lurking for a signal caller? We know the Saints could also be in that group. You know, there's legitimate talk about Dart or Sanders at 9, right? When you expand it to the top 40, the Rams shoot to the top of the list of teams that could take a quarterback in the first round. Matthew Stafford is a year-to-year proposition after all. I checked in around the league asking for other teams that could be in the market for quarterback between rounds 2 and 4. A few sources pointed to the Jets, Raiders, and Seahawks as potential teams that grab a quarterback in those mid-rounds, with a common theme that the new quarterbacks at each team are all essentially on pay-as-you-go deals. Here we go. The Miami Dolphins are the other team sources are eyeing as a potential quarterback grabber in the second, third, or fourth round. Miami has 10 picks total, including 4 picks in those 3 rounds, so they have ammunition to do it. The Dolphins missed the playoffs last year in part because they didn't have a good plan for life without Tua Tagovailoa. They signed Zach Wilson in free agency, but he's the only other quarterback on the roster. Skylar Thompson, the only other quarterback the team has drafted since taking Tua in 2020, went 1-3 as a starter and is now a Steelers backup. Oh boy, I told you they're eyeing freaking Quinn Ewers. Oh my God. And oh my God. That's who it's going to be, isn't it? Please don't be Quinn Ewers. Please don't be Quinn Ewers. That's exactly who it's going to be. Oh my Lord. Second to fourth round, legitimately. Man, the only guys I'd take in the second to fourth round, I'd take Kyle McCord. I'd take Jalen Milroe if he fell. But I don't think he's going to fall to us. Pretty much where the list ends. Please, God, don't let them take Quinn Ewers, especially high. Like, if they take Quinn Ewers at 48, oh my God. Because you know they will. You know they will. Right? You know they will. Oh my God. So, listen, but I've said 116 to 155 is the range I expect. Well, guess what their fourth round picks are? 116 and 135. Now, if they're taking a quarterback with their second or third round pick at 48 or 98, I've also said, I believe if Quinn Ewers is on the board at 98, watch out. This team's going to pull the trigger. Watch. I've said that. I literally said that. I just hate when things start to look like a reality that you say. So, yeah. Listen, I give me, hey, listen, you want to take Kyle McCord at 116 is on the board? Lock me in. I'm down. 135, I'm down. 98, though, for any quarterback when we've only got 3 picks in the top 100? No, man. We need a guard, a tackle, and a corner. A defensive tackle before, or, we need a guard or a tackle that can play guard, a defensive tackle, and a corner, man. You don't have enough. If you had 5 picks in the top 100, okay. But come on. But, I would love McCord at, 116, 135. And that's where I've said I think the sweet spot would be if the quarterbacks fall a little bit. 116 to 155 is where I would start targeting my quarterback. Right? You got 4 picks in the span of 39 picks. That's where I would start looking. But, man, looking to take a quarterback between, what scares me, actually, to be honest with you, is the second and third. 98 and 48, when the cupboard is bare at certain positions with depth, let alone some positions at full-time starter. Like left guard, Zach Sealer's running mate, for example. You know, corner 1 when you get rid of Ramsey, let alone corner 2, who's the answer there? And I'm not talking about Kohu playing on the boundary. You know, yeah, like quarterback 3 falls well below in terms of priorities to those. But hey, since they're looking for a quarterback that high, let's drop my quarterback big board. It all makes sense, don't it? One thing leads to another. So let's get into it. Here is my 2025 quarterback big board. We got all 22 of the top 5. And there's some big time throws you're going to like. All right. Listen, I tell people this though. With a highlight package, you can make anyone look good, but these players deserve these highlight packages put together. So let's get into my honorable mentions from this class. Let's start off at 15 with Brady Cook out of Missouri. All right, now, guys who just missed out, Tyler Huff from Jacksonville State, Donovan Smith from Houston. Those would be like 16, 17. Hey, talking about Donovan Smith from Houston, if you want to see a guy with some crazy athleticism, you know, but he's just really raw from a passing standpoint, go check out Donovan Smith from Houston. And Tyler Huff from Jacksonville State, I think, is a very big sleeper. So he just missed out, making my top 15. So Brady Cook from Missouri, he's 6'2", 214, had the 31st best RAS for the quarterback position since 1987. He had a 37-inch vertical, a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, a 4.59 40-yard dash, a 2.67 20-yard split, a 1.57 10-yard split, a 4.17 shuttle, and a 7.01 3-cone. So needless to say, he's a really intriguing athlete with top-tier athletic profile. Has good accuracy on the short, intermediate, and deep levels. Has above average velocity to his throws. Has a decent feel for the pocket. Can move out of it under pressure and make off-platform throws while, listen, he doesn't come from a NFL progression-based system. I'm not a fan of his touch, especially the deeper he gets with the football. Doesn't show the ability to move defenders with his eyes. Play dipped in 2024 after a solid 2023. Can lock onto receivers and make it easy for defenders to read his eyes. And the footwork is sloppy, which leads to accuracy issues. And overall, his mechanics, I think, need a lot of work. 14, Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. Not high on this kid. You can tell that, obviously, by the ranking. 6'4", 216 from Notre Dame. Even though he offers some dual threat as a rusher upside to his game, I'm still not overly sold on him. You know, he's a playmaker with his legs. That's the first thing that stands out on film. Has the physical tools you like to see on a quarterback. Has decent velocity to the first 2 levels. Will fight to gain every inch and blade of grass. He also flashes decent touch on the intermediate and deep levels. Releases pretty quick. Not many tight window throws on film. Doesn't show the ability to consistently process pre-snap and head through his progressions well. Will bail from the pocket way too quickly because the pocket presence is pretty sketchy with him. He's better out of structure rather than in it. Doesn't play well with timing and anticipation. Arm strength is okay at best. Plus, his placement can be very spotty at times too. Number 13, this man wasn't invited to the combine and should have been. Cam Miller is just under 6'1", 215. Able to extend the play and create out of structure, but could be a sleeper in this draft if he goes to the right environment and gets some further development to his game. He's a pretty good decision maker who takes care of the football, only throwing 4 interceptions in each of the last 2 seasons. Limited his turnover-worthy plays at North Dakota State, only having 14 over the last 2 years as well. Can make plays with his legs, amassing 1,260 rushing yards and 25 rushing TDs the last 2 years. I think he has good velocity to his throws, snappy, compact, quick release to his game, and his mechanics. I love it. Miller shows above average anticipation and timing, while his mechanics and footwork is actually more consistently good than it is sloppy. Now, average at best arm strength. Doesn't have the arm talent to make a lot of off-platform throws, I think. Needs to move his eyes more. Doesn't come from a strong progression-based offense. Ball placement needs improvement. Not a big fan of his deep ball ability. At 12, I got Dylan Gabriel, 5'11", 205. He's an experienced passer, man. We're talking about 2,120 attempts over his 6-year college career at UCF, Oklahoma, and Oregon with 85 touchdowns and 18 interceptions over the last 3 seasons. He can create a little with his legs. Has a pretty high football IQ due to his time in multiple schemes. He's been successful and statistically. He's a good post-snap and pre-snap processor. He's very accurate on all 3 levels. Shows good timing to his throws. His touch is quite good too. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and I think he has a good feel for the pocket. Now, arm strength is below average. He'll be 25 in December. Limited ceiling in terms of growth. He's pretty much a finished product, I think. Accuracy starts to dip when he goes beyond his first read. Size is far from ideal for the next level. Doesn't throw guys open consistently. He waits to see them coming open, which with a below average arm, that's not a good thing. And needs to limit the fumbles. He had 29 in his college career. Number 11, Max Brosmer out of Minnesota. I think Brosmer is the type of quarterback with the accuracy, drive on the football, and timing on the short to intermediate levels of the field that would make the just over 6'1.5", 217-pound former Gophers quarterback an ideal fit in West Coast offenses. I've told you before, I think Shanahan tree guys will love this kid. He can play under center and isn't strictly a shotgun quarterback. Has nice footwork in the pocket. His mechanics are consistently clean for the most part. Doesn't turn the ball over often or make, many turnover-worthy plays. Has a good amount of experience between his time as a 2-year starter at New Hampshire and his 1 year as a starter in Minnesota. Quick release, and he makes the smart throws to move the chains, especially on third down when he's put in that position. On the deep levels, his touch timing and accuracy begins to waver. Arm strength isn't anything to write home about, and not much zip when throwing deep. He can lock in on receivers. He gets happy feet when the pocket starts to close in. Doesn't offer much out of structure, and he had a torn ACL in 2021. But I do think, I watched the tape, I'm like, oh, Shanahan guy's going to love this guy. 6 to 10. Will Howard's at number 10 for me, 6'4", 236. 5-year college player with 4 years at Kansas State. I know, Dolphin fans, you guys are having flashbacks to good old Skylar Thompson. Having started the final 2 there and spending, he spent his last college season, 2024, as a starter of Ohio State. He has a pretty strong arm that can sling it with good velocity on all 3 levels. From a size and frame standpoint, he's a prototype that was created in the QB lab. He can move the chain with his legs and make plays as a dual threat out of structure. He's a decent pre-snap processor. I appreciate his toughness and durability too. He'll take a beating in the pocket and keep getting up or smartly put his body on the line to get an extra yard to help the offense. Now, what I mean by smartly is he won't dive head first. He'll protect his body, but he'll put it on the line. I think he's more accurate and has better touch in terms of layering throws. Scotty Joe, I see your comment. You damn right I got the Canuck at 8. I think he's more accurate and has better touch in terms of layering throws on the short to intermediate level than he is on deep throws. That said, his deep ball is still above average. It's a pretty good feel for the pocket and presence in it. And I think transferring from Kansas State to Ohio State and winning the national championship, I mean, that's got to mean something. No? Right? Like, that's got to mean something. That's what I say, at least, So, decision making, though, it's not very good at times. I think his mechanics get sloppy, and I do think it starts, with the footwork. I really do. No, it can also impact his accuracy and drive on the ball with that bad footwork. He can lead defenders to throwing lanes by locking his eyes on his target. And I don't view him as someone who can consistently make full field progressions right now if you asked him to. Right? So, listen, I'm not hating. I'm just telling you, like, that's what it feels like to me when I look at Will Howard. So, keep going here. Number 9, my boy. Man, I love this guy. I really do. Honestly. Seth Hennigan. My guy, Seth Hennigan. I've been talking about him on this channel for quite some time. Hennigan was vying with Kyle McCord and Curtis Rourke as the second quarterback on my annual man crush list behind Jackson Dart, and I really like him as a day 3 option, or if he slides as a UDFA signing, if he gets there. I think he got better every year in college. And that's what I love to see. That's what I love to see. Got better every year in college. Okay? He's 6'3", 215. I think he has an underrated football IQ. Has gotten better every year as a decision maker when I watch the film over the last 4 seasons. And throwing for, check this out. He's thrown for 104 touchdowns and 14,992 yards in those 4 years. That's nothing to shake a stick at. You know why? Those are the most ever in AAC history. 104 touchdowns and 14,992 yards. Buddy. Hennigan can play the quick rhythm game from the short to intermediate level, screens over the middle of the field. But he's also shown on film he has a decent level of comfort rolling through his full field progressions when he's asked to. And make a big throw when he has to when, it just wasn't very often. Only 15 interceptions the last 2 years and not one season of 10 interceptions or more in college. His touch and accuracy has gotten better each year as a starter. Ball placement on some throws can wow you at times. I think his deep ball is very underrated in this class. He doesn't panic or get happy feet under pressure. Stays calm and poised or will climb out of the pocket and away from it. Can throw off platform and from different arm angles, and his release is tight, compact, and quick. Now, he isn't a great athlete. He's not going to create a lot out of structure. He has 21 fumbles in 4 years, so he needs to clean that up. Doesn't have top end arm strength by any means. Drive and velocity, that can dip a little too much when going deep and outside the numbers too, which, you prefer not to see that. Right? Number 8. Yeah, boy. Curtis Rourke. All right. Remember, 4 Canadians were selected last year, right? Isaiah Adams went to the Arizona Cardinals at pick 71. Theo Johnson, the tight end from Penn State, went to the Giants at 107. Giovanni Manu in the 4th round went to the Lions. Don't hate. And then Tyler McLaughlin went to the Bengals at 194. Well, guess what? We've got Alik Ayomanor, the wide receiver from Stafford. He's Canadian. All right. Taylor Elgersma, the kid who everyone was talking about the Senior Bowl, he's Canadian. And here's my boy right here, number 8, Curtis Rourke. He's Canadian. Good old Canadian boy out of Indiana. Played his ball at Indiana. Played his high school ball not very far from me either. Curtis Rourke is 6'4", 220 pounds. And you want to talk about competitive toughness in a leader. Check this out. 2024, he went 10-1 in the regular season as a starter before losing to Notre Dame in the first round of the college football playoffs, 27-17. He threw for 3,084 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and the best completion percentage of his career at 69.4%, all while playing the whole season on a torn ACL. Like, we're talking about absolute stud, absolute warrior right here. All right? And you know what? Another thing we got to say here. Listen, Syracuse. When he went to Syracuse, okay? Check this out. Sorry, we're talking about Curtis Rourke right now. We're gonna get in, but yeah, we're gonna get in. Wait till we get to McCord. I got some stuff that's gonna blow your mind. So, listen, I think Rourke, he's got quite the strong arm that delivers the ball with good zip on all 3 levels. Lets him challenge tight windows, deliver the ball with confidence outside of the numbers. I think his ball placement, whether in the bucket, over the shoulder, or to the back shoulder of a receiver, is pretty good. He's really accurate on the short to intermediate levels. He dices the blitz, takes care of the football. With, only 10 interceptions over the last 2 years for Curtis Rourke. All right? I love it, man. I love what I've seen from Curtis Rourke. He can use his eyes to move defenders off of their spots to create throwing lanes. Plus, he displays good touch to his throws. I think he's a good pre-snap and post-snap processor. He can throw with anticipation and timing. Pressure doesn't cause him or his mechanics to collapse, and I think he's fully comfortable from a full field progression standpoint and really underrated in that department. Now, I don't think Rourke is a really good athlete that will offer you much out of structure. He's going to be, Rourke's going to be 25 this season. He'll need to develop his footwork and his dropbacks. Obviously, medicals will matter for him. He isn't going to make many defenders miss in the pocket, while his feel well, his feel for pressure and overall pocket presence, it's just okay. Number 7 for me, I got Quinn Ewers. He's a player since last August that I've been saying on this channel would be a McDaniel type of guy that fits, was asked of a QB in this offense, and after learning McDaniel was all over him at the 2023 Texas Pro Day when people thought he was infatuated with Xavier Worthy, plus the hype surrounding him out of the combine a few months ago, I'm even more convinced he would be an option at 98 or 116 for the Dolphins if he's on the board. When you watch Quinn Ewers, it's impressive how he can create out of structure. When the play breaks down and by throwing off of different arm angles, while he's really accurate from short to intermediate level, he can drive the ball pretty decently on the short to intermediate level too. He'll threaten tight windows, shows good footwork in the pocket, leads receivers to open field, throws with good anticipation, is an ideal fit for a West Coast offense. And that timing-based offense is a good fit for that. Mechanics are pretty consistently clean. He has a pretty high football IQ, operating what would be considered a pro-style offense in Texas pretty efficiently. Not afraid of competition. He held off Arch Manning. Shows up in big games and will take his checkdowns instead of forcing the issue. Now, the accuracy on the deep level as well as the velocity and drive to the football, it just isn't that good. Isn't great throwing outside of the numbers. Can't afford to be late on reads because of inadequate arm strength. Pressure can lead to faulty mechanics and footwork by Ewers. And to be honest, I don't know if he has much of a ceiling left to his game. In his pocket presence, it's mediocre at best. Now, number 6, my boy Kyle McCord, the second quarterback on my annual draft man crush list. Kyle McCord, to me, is one of the few options I would have some faith in being able to run the Miami Dolphins offense or Shanahan offense in general if Tua or Purdy were to go down and either Zach Wilson or Mac Jones had to be benched due to poor performance or injury. McCord is really accurate on the first 2 levels, and the accuracy doesn't dip off that much on the deep level of the field. His ball placement and touch on all 3 levels is very underrated in my opinion too. Check this one out. McCord's 4,779 yards passing in 2024 displaced Deshaun Watson for number 1 in the ACC record books as the most ever in a single season, and he's thrown 58 touchdowns to 18 interceptions over 947 attempts the last 2 seasons at Ohio State and Syracuse. His footwork is very clean and very consistent. He knows how to attack defensive backs with leverage disadvantages against his receivers. I like how quick his release is, and McCord processes fairly fast from the pocket and pre-snap and at the pre-snap as well. Arm strength is okay. Drive on the ball and velocity dips the deeper the ball gets after the intermediate level. Not a great athlete, but can extend a play. He can make full field progressions, but wasn't asked to do it often, so can he do it consistently? And he can lock in on that first read a little too often, while his mechanics can suffer if the pressure is heavy and consistent. But give me Kyle McCord, man. I do think he could operate McDaniel's offense. I really do. And the NFL is very high on Kyle McCord. Let that be known. I've heard there's no way Kyle McCord's even getting out of the 3rd round. All right? So, yeah. Kyle McCord, man, that guy passed Deshaun Watson for the most passing yards in a single ACC season this year. Good player, man. Good player. All right, let's get into my top 5. And top 5, we'll start off with number 5 being Jalen Milroe. He's 6'1" and 7/8. He's 217, runs a 4.4 flat 40. Oozes athletic traits for days, and if turned into a more efficient and accurate quarterback who can play on time more, could be a dangerous weapon. And along with Jackson Dart, to me, he has the highest upside and ceiling of this quarterback class. Jalen Milroe is a playmaker out of structure with 32 rushing touchdowns and 1,257 rushing yards the last 2 seasons, and 20 of those touchdowns were in 2024 alone. He has high level escapability and elusiveness in the pocket. He's as slippery as they come. Feels the pressure and can take off like a damn gazelle. Plays through contact and will try and gain every inch of the football field possible. Whew. He has a really strong arm that in contention for best in this class. He can get good drive and consistent velocity on all 3 levels that can get the pigskin delivered into tight windows. And there's no issue threatening outside of the numbers because he has all the zip and more zip than an area code. you need plus more. He's a very intelligent kid with the football smarts to back it up. Has played in multiple schemes already due to his time in Alabama, from a pro style to spread offense. His release is snappy and quick. Plus, he does have throws that flash really nice touch and ball placement that raise your eyebrows. Arm talent-wise, he can throw off different arm angles and different arm slots. He can make plays with his arm off platform and on the move. So again, you see the tools and upside that are put together by the right staff scream special. Now, he's very raw as a passer still from an anticipation, timing, and processing standpoint, and it's because he's a product of coaching staffs relying on his athleticism to get their teams by, and not developing his weaknesses as a passer all the way back to high school. Relying on said athleticism can lead to him to bail early on plays instead of reading the field. Needs to continue developing, going through full field progressions. Footwork in the pocket can get really sloppy and impacts his mechanics regularly, while the accuracy wavers and he misses some throws that are gimmies. He's also low on this list because he has serious boom or bust potential. But in a quarterback class that's weak, it's always good to bet on the traits. If you have the time and the vet QB1 to develop him properly like Jordan Love was. The traits and the upside is crazy with him. And I want to say, I talked about smarts. Guys, this guy has like a 4.0 GPA in his master's. He has a master's. Jalen Milroe is a very smart man. Tyler Shuck at 4. He's an interesting prospect. He was a top-ranked recruit who backed up Justin Herbert at Oregon and was supposed to take the reins and lead them to glory, yet instead, he's been in college since 2018 and will be 26 in the first month of the 2025 NFL season, playing at 3 different colleges. He has had a college career riddled with injuries that leaves you wondering if he is a high-floor player with a low ceiling or a high-floor player with an untapped ceiling because of all the games and reps he's missed that would have grown, developed, and potentially taken his game to the next level, while ironically, he may still be one of, if not the most pro-ready guy of this class. Go figure that one. He's 6'4" and 7'8", 219 pounds. He's a really good athlete with prototypical size and frame you'd like to see at the position. He had the 32nd best relative athletic score ever for the quarterback position. He had a 4.6 340, and you see that athleticism on tape frequently with his ability to extend the play and create out of structure with his legs and mainly his arm. He has a good arm and gets really good drive and velocity on the football. I've seen him fit throws into closing windows on reads he's laid on that are well beyond 20 yards downfield, and he has a good, tight, compact release. I think why most will label him as the most pro-ready of this class is he looks the most comfortable of this class rolling through his progressions and coming back through them. He also doesn't turn the ball over or rarely puts it in harm's way. As his first full season healthy in 2024 at Louisville, he posted a turnover-worthy play rate of 1.8%. That's super low. He's scheme diverse due to bouncing around colleges as well as his total time spent in college. Has a good feel for the pocket, flashes high-level touch and placement too, especially on the deep level. Can make every throw on the football field, anticipates well, and will stand tough in the pocket to delivery. Now, injuries are a big thing from an availability standpoint to a growth and developmental standpoint. Since he's in college for 7 seasons and he only played 42 games. Mechanics can fail, as does the footwork under pressure, and he can fall victim to throwing off his back foot and fading away instead of stepping in and driving through the football. Time isn't on his side from an age standpoint, though he minimizes the turnover-worthy throws. The throws that are usually him forcing the issue. And ball placement on timing throws, well, that needs to be more consistent, leading receivers into space and giving them yak. But I mean, look at this throw right here. Look at the window he fits over the middle of the field, and the defender, look at that. I mean, he's got the arm to back it up. You see it on tape, and look at, he's got the legs too. Look at, he's going to take the hit and he's going to do the flip. Whoop! Look at that. I mean, you look at Tyler Shuck, he's got, if he stays healthy, he's very intriguing. Look at, whoop! Attaboy. So, number 3 for me is Shedeur Sanders, all right? If you're not a fan of Tua Tagovailoa, guess what? You wouldn't be a fan of Shedeur Sanders' game too, as it is based off timing, attacking the middle of the field, and those that call Tua a spot thrower, well, then Sanders fans and Sanders themselves, they fit in that category because he's a spot thrower. He's the light version of Tua in all those categories I mentioned. They aren't superpowers for him. Sanders has high level accuracy and touch over the first two levels of the field, can layer throws over defenders to hit his target. And I think his mechanics from his footwork up to the point of his release are, they seem to be getting better and on point, which helps him be arguably the most accurate QB of this class. He's tough under pressure, can take a beating, and will get back up. He can shake off the last play and get to work while making sure to take care of the football. With back-to-back years posting a 1.3% turnover-worthy play rate and only throwing 13 interceptions the last 2 seasons, though 10 of those did come in 2024 alone. He's not someone you want playing out of structure, but he has shown the ability to make some big throws on the move out of structure, like this one right here. Now, look at it's a great adjustment by the receiver. That's why that's complete, but, it's out of structure. And it was tied the game. He can throw it back shoulder, put it over the shoulder in the bucket. I think the ball placement is generally quite good. He'll lead a receiver to space. I like that about his game. Sanders has a consistent, repeatable, crisp release in his throwing motion. Absolutely dices the blitz. He's a stronger pre-snap processor than post-snap, in my opinion. He can throw off different angles and arm slots under pressure to get the ball out, and he really finds his rhythm when he's attacking defenses in the quick passing game. Now, he drifts and turns 3 to 4 yard sacks into 8, 9, 10 plus yard sacks. I think you really see this arm limitation start to show up from an arm strength standpoint and ability to drive the ball and put zip behind it standpoint. Once you get outside the numbers into the deeper parts of the field, I think his pocket presence and overall feel for it isn't a strong suit of his game by any means. I mean, he leads himself into a lot of sacks. Can tend to overextend looking for a play instead of throwing it away. Isn't a really good athlete. Can be, he's an okay athlete. Can be a touch slow, but yeah. Now, number 2, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart, for me, one of the biggest man crushes of this draft and my top man crush of the quarterback position. Dart is a player I wanted the Miami Dolphins to draft since August, September, when I thought he could be had at 48, and I ramped it up even more when Tua went down. But now there's NFL teams who, like me, have him on their big board as a quarterback too. And there's a chance he goes ahead of Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 NFL draft. Like I said earlier, in a weak quarterback class, to me, you bet on the upside. And Dart has that plus a lot of traits you like as a passer and playmaker at quarterback. Also, he clearly has the work ethic you wanted as a player. He got better every year as a passer in college. His accuracy consistently improved each season too. He's 6'2", 223, is a plus athlete who's a great creator with his legs and his arm outside of the pocket and out of structure. That throw in that Gator Bowl, you'll see at the end of this highlight reel, where Dart rolls to the left and launches a pinpoint accurate bomb against a sideline from his own 44 down to Duke's 3 is a thing of magic. He ran for 495 yards in 2024, but also ran for 614 his first year at Ole Miss too. People try to knock him for being a product of Lane Kiffin's offense, which includes a lot of RPOs, play action, etc., but has pro-level foundations to it, terminology, and while he got pro-level coaching from Kiffin himself, and the sample size might be small because of what Dart was asked to do and how he's asked to operate that offense, but you can find Dart going through full field progressions, looking off 1, 2, and 3, and coming back to 1 or 2, and delivering the football on time and accurately if you watch all of his film like I have. Dart has a really good arm, gets good drive and velocity on all 3 levels. He can make throws off platform from different angles and dices defenses on the first 2 levels. Has a really good deep ball, flashes high level placement on some really hard throws, both in the pocket and on the move. In the face of pressure, he'll stand up against it, and with the pocket mudding around him, he will make the throw if he anticipates the window is going to open up. I think he's a really good pre-snap processor, and the ceiling is very high in the right environment with good coaching and patience to develop. I don't think him or Sanders should be starting in year 1, but to me, Dart has the highest upside in this class next to Milroe if he lands with the right team. Now, where does Dart need to improve? Well, we do need to see a bigger sample size and him forced to go through full field reads more. His footwork will be interesting to see. I've heard good things from the Senior Bowl through the draft process about it. And I say this because he wasn't asked to do traditional 3-step and 5-step drops at Ole Miss. He worked primarily out of the gun like Herbert at Oregon. I think he needs to continue to improve as a post-snap processor. And though he takes care of the football and is a good decision maker most of the time, he has serious lapses like in the final 2 minutes he had against Florida in 2024 that just leaves you shaking your head. Plus, I've seen some underneath gimme throws where he lets his base fail him and he misses the throw. But what is most encouraging about Dart is everything about him that needs improving is coachable and will get better with reps. And everyone has those brain farts. I mean, go look at Shedeur Sanders in the second overtime at that pick he threw against Stanford in 2023. It was god-awful. You know, Sanders has decision-making issues too, just like Dart does. So, look at that throw, though, along that sideline. Number 1 for me is Cam Ward. Now, to me, Ward right now, along with Shuck, is the most probably pro-ready quarterback of the bunch. He's the QB I'd feel most comfortable starting day one out of this class. I think he's the safest pick at the position, and he's something that will and he has something to me that will translate and make him potentially very successful. That winner's DNA. He turns it on in big moments and has the ability to carry a team on his shoulders in the fourth quarter when you need it the most. It's all over the Hurricanes film. You don't need to have to go back to Washington State or Incarnate Ward to see that. Ward is 6'2", 223 pounds. You know, trusts his arm to make every throw on the football field, which he possesses the arm strength and talent to back that confidence up with and do. He's so cool and calm and collected under pressure, like you just can't teach it. Instead, you can only sit back and appreciate it. Has the ability to shake off a bad play and make you pay on the next play he has. He's a tough competitor through and through. He displays really good touch on his throws. Layering the ball is no issue for him. He can throw off platform from every arm slot and angle. Athletically, he may not be elite, but he's the tier under it. He can be a defense's worst nightmare if he gets his legs going under him, because some of his best tape is when he gets to work out of structure as an improviser. Has a high football IQ, will regularly make pre-snap adjustments based on his pre-snap processing. He doesn't panic against a blitz, and I think where his game really took a leap is in his post-snap processing and ability to read the field and smoothly move through his progressions, though there was still a lot of half-field reads, etc. in 2024, and not a full ton of full-field progressions required. He has really smooth, crisp footwork, comes off like the type of leader you want in your locker room. His game has gotten better every year, and with each stop in college, to me, he can turn the Titans around like Steve McNair did if they properly support him and not hang him out to dry like they did with Vince Young in Tennessee. I think Ward plays better in structure than most give him credit for, but I know certain NFL coaches get frustrated with players who prefer to play out of structure like Sean Payton, for example, did with Russell Wilson. He's not a bad decision maker per se, but can put the ball in harm's way because he wants to force the issue, purchase himself to make a big play, which he'll pay more for in the NFL. Doesn't like to take what the defense gives him underneath a little too often for my liking. He needs more reps and work going through full field reads and progressions. His accuracy can waver a bit on some deep throws, especially outside the numbers. He can get caught holding the ball too long, and I do think he needs to improve on timing throws. But I mean, you look at this play here. I mean, I know this play didn't end up counting because of the flags, but I had to include it because, like, look at the ability just to extend and find the open man and make the defense pay for it. You absolutely love it, you know. And look at make the blitzer with, you know, with the free lane miss right off the rip and then make the throw, the over-the-shoulder throw. I mean, this kid, man, in the right situation, he's going to be damn good, I think. I really do. Now, I didn't have enough time to finish off because of how fast everything was going with Shedeur. I did want to mention, you know, how he can be a touch slow through his full field progressions, which can lead to, you know, late reads and throws. His footwork can get sloppy. Didn't take much of a developmental leap from 2023 to 2024. And like I said, his decision making with Shedeur Sanders, it can leave you scratching your head at times. You know, I brought it up. Go look at that second overtime pick in 2023 against Stanford. Like, what are you doing, bud? You know, and so I do think, you know, a lot of the guys in this class, they have decision-making issues, which you see a lot of quarterbacks coming out of college, and these kids are still developing. But this is why I like Ward and Dart better than Shedeur. Shedeur didn't look like he grew from 2023 to 2024. He didn't look like he took a big leap. Dart has gotten better every year. Ward has gotten better every year. Now, you ask yourself, can the Miami Dolphins, by drafting a quarterback, will the shelf life of Grier and McDaniel be extended? And I've said this. What if they take, let's say they take a McCord, let's say Milroe falls to them at 48 and they take him, and you see flashes in preseason or in the regular season if they have to step in, you see flashes of like, oh my God, we might have something there. If they hit on that, they might be able to turn to Ross and say, see what happens when we draft our guy? You know, McDaniel got as far as he could with Tua, but see what happens when we draft our guy, what he could be in this offense? Give us some more time, Steven. I've talked about this for months. I could very well see that playing out. And with a guy like Jalen Milroe and the potential flashing, man, or McCord and how he could operate this offense, it makes sense. It makes 110% sense if you really do think about it. It's kind of crazy. Shout out to Ernest for sending 5 memberships. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. And shout out to Skunk8 for joining the Hall of Fame. Listen, I got to get out of here. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'll be live tomorrow. Fins up all day, every day. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate you.